As the Russia-Ukraine war enters its fourth year, the conflict has shifted from the front lines to a calculated assault on Ukraine's civilian infrastructure. The winter of 2025 brought a new strategy, targeting energy grids, plunging millions into uncertainty as basic services became weapons of war. Russia's campaign aims to cripple Ukraine's resilience before the coldest months, blurring the line between military and civilian targets. By attacking power generation and distribution, Russia seeks to create a humanitarian crisis, hoping to break Ukraine's spirit through darkness and cold. These attacks are not random. They are part of a systematic campaign of energy terror, designed to force societal collapse rather than military defeat. As the world watches, Ukraine faces a fight not just for territory, but for survival through a winter weaponized by war. On October 30, 2025, Russia launched one of its most intense aerial bombardments, unleashing over 650 drones and 50 missiles across Ukraine. The attack combined slow-moving Shahed drones with advanced cruise and hypersonic missiles, overwhelming air defenses and ensuring destruction. Explosions echoed from Lviv to Zaporizhzhia, saturating the skies and targeting the nation's power grid. President Zelensky condemned the strikes as a campaign against both infrastructure and civilian life, spreading fear nationwide. The assault's sophistication, using drones to map defenses and missiles to exploit gaps, demonstrated a clear intent to cripple Ukraine's ability to function. Fires raged at power plants and substations, and emergency power outages were imposed nationwide to prevent total collapse. For millions, the day began in darkness, a stark reminder of the war's reach into every home. On October 30th, a coordinated and relentless assault was launched against Ukraine's energy infrastructure, marking one of the most significant attacks in recent months. The strikes were not random, they were calculated, targeting the very systems that keep the country running, especially as winter approaches and the need for reliable power becomes critical for millions of civilians. The barrage struck thermal power plants and substations that are vital to the national grid, crippling facilities that supply electricity to homes, hospitals, and essential services. Emergency workers rushed to the scenes, battling fires and working to restore power amid the chaos. DTEK, Ukraine's largest private energy company, was hit especially hard, suffering its third major attack in just 1 month. This pattern of repeated strikes underscores a deliberate campaign to dismantle Ukraine's power generation capacity piece by piece, aiming to weaken the country's resilience and morale. The attacks didn't stop at conventional power sources. Strikes extended to substations that supply electricity to nuclear plants, raising the stakes dramatically. In response, Ukraine's foreign ministry accused Russia of engaging in nuclear terrorism, warning of the grave risks posed by such actions. The International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed that military activity damaged power lines connecting the South Ukraine and Khmelnytskyi nuclear plants to the grid. This forced both facilities to reduce output, heightening fears of a potential nuclear emergency and underscoring the vulnerability of critical infrastructure in conflict zones. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, remains a focal point of international anxiety. Dependent on fragile external power lines, any disruption could have catastrophic consequences, not just for Ukraine, but for the entire region. Severing power to these critical facilities is a reckless escalation, plunging entire cities into darkness, creating a constant state of emergency, and putting millions at risk. The threat of catastrophe now looms far beyond Ukraine's borders, affecting the safety and security of neighboring countries. By targeting these vital energy connections, Russia is not only holding Ukraine hostage, but is also endangering the stability of the entire European continent, making the threat of nuclear disaster a shared concern for all. While infrastructure was the target, civilians bore the brunt of the October 30th attacks. The strikes came without warning, shattering the morning calm and sending shockwaves through neighborhoods that had, until then, clung to a fragile sense of safety. At least 6 people were killed and 27 injured, ordinary lives shattered in their homes by indiscriminate violence. Families were torn apart in an instant, and the echoes of grief lingered long after the smoke cleared. In Zaporizhzhia, 2 died and 23 were injured, including children. The youngest victims remind us that war spares no one, not even the most innocent. Hospitals filled with the wounded, and communities struggled to comprehend the scale of the devastation. In Vinnytsia, a 7-year-old girl succumbed to her wounds. Her family, like so many others, faced unimaginable loss, mourning a future stolen by violence. Even cities far from the front lines, like Borispil near Kyiv, saw injuries and damage, proving nowhere is safe. The reach of these attacks extended deep into the heart of Ukraine, disrupting lives far from the battlefield. The psychological toll is immense: air raid sirens, constant anxiety, and the loss of any sense of normalcy. Each alert sends families scrambling for shelter, hearts pounding, never knowing if their home will be next. Emergency outages plunged homes, hospitals, and businesses into darkness, leaving the vulnerable at risk as temperatures dropped. The cold seeped into every corner, compounding the hardship for those already suffering. Hospitals scrambled to back up generators, fighting to keep life-saving equipment running. Medical staff worked tirelessly, often in near darkness, to care for the injured and sick. Families struggled to provide warmth and food, improvising meals by candlelight and sharing what little they had with neighbors. Community solidarity became a lifeline in the face of adversity. Daily life became a battle for dignity. People lined up for humanitarian aid, cleaned debris from shattered homes, and tried to maintain routines amid chaos. This was not just an attack on infrastructure, but on the basic conditions of survival for millions. Displacement, uncertainty, and fear became daily companions for countless families. The war's cruelty is measured not only in destroyed buildings, but in the suffering of those left in the cold and dark, struggling to endure, and hoping for a return to peace. Ukraine responded to the devastation with defiance and urgent appeals for help. Prime Minister Sviridенko called the attacks systematic energy terror, aimed at breaking the nation's will before winter. Energy leaders pleaded for advanced air defenses, specialized equipment, and funding to repair the shattered grid. Poland and NATO allies scrambled jets and closed airports near the border, underscoring the conflict's regional risks. On the ground, Ukrainian utility workers became heroes, working around the clock, often under fire, to restore power and stability. Their rapid response allowed Ukrenergo to cancel initial nationwide power cuts, a testament to resilience forged by years of war. Ukraine's determination to keep the lights on is a powerful act of resistance against Russia's campaign of terror. In the aftermath of the strikes, rumors swirled online that Ukraine had retaliated by plunging Moscow into darkness. Despite the appeal of this narrative, no credible evidence supports claims of a Ukrainian orchestrated blackout in the Russian capital. Major news agencies and official statements reported no such incident, and the technical challenges of such an attack are immense. While Ukraine has struck targets inside Russia, a citywide blackout in Moscow remains beyond current capabilities. The story spread as a morale-boosting myth, highlighting the power of misinformation in modern warfare. It's a reminder to rely on verified sources, especially as information becomes another front in the conflict. The real focus remains on Russia's unilateral aggression and Ukraine's struggle to defend and rebuild its energy system. The war for Ukraine's energy grid has become a central battlefield, with profound strategic consequences for both nations. Russia's goal is to cripple Ukraine's defense industry, demoralize civilians, and pressure Kyiv into submission by weaponizing winter. Destroying infrastructure threatens to create a refugee crisis, straining Ukraine's European allies. For Ukraine, defending the grid is a fight for survival, powering military operations, hospitals, and daily life. The government and its partners pour resources into air defenses and rapid repairs, racing against Russian destruction. Engineers and utility workers are now frontline soldiers, risking their lives to restore power under constant threat. The conflict is a relentless contest between Russian attacks and Ukrainian resilience. The outcome will shape not just the war, but the future of Ukraine itself. As winter tightens its grip, the cold becomes more than just a seasonal challenge. It's a daily test of endurance for millions of Ukrainians. Ukraine's energy system remains fragile, battered by relentless attacks that have left scars across the nation's infrastructure. Repairs are ongoing, with teams working around the clock, while the threat of new attacks is ever present, casting a shadow over every effort. Emergency power cuts may return at any moment if the grid is hit again, plunging entire neighborhoods into darkness without warning. Even a surge in demand during the coldest nights can strain the system to its breaking point, leaving families shivering in their homes. International aid brings vital equipment, generators, transformers, and spare parts, offering hope and a lifeline to communities in need. But integrating modern parts into aging, Soviet-era systems is a race against time. Ukrainian engineers work tirelessly, often improvising solutions with limited resources. Adapting and rebuilding under fire, they risk their lives to restore power, knowing every repaired line means warmth and safety for thousands. Determined to keep the nation running, civilians prepare for hardship, stockpiling supplies, batteries, and candles, bracing for the next blackout. They seek warmth in public shelters, gather in community centers, and support one another through acts of kindness and solidarity. This communal resilience stands in stark contrast to Russia's campaign of terror, which seeks to break the spirit of the people. Instead, it reveals a society unbroken by adversity, where neighbors share what little they have, and hope persists in the darkest hours. The fight for electricity is now a fight for Ukraine's future, for its sovereignty, and for the dignity of its people. As the world watches, Ukraine's struggle becomes a symbol of resistance and hope, inspiring others far beyond its borders. Ukraine's determination to restore light in the darkness is a testament to its unwavering resolve to endure, rebuild, and ultimately prevail. Each sunrise over a city with lights restored is a quiet victory, a promise that Ukraine's spirit will not be extinguished.